Chapter 7. Why so and not otherwise? Lens the chef, and Hippo the doctor tell us here. Why so and not otherwise? Okay. This only works if it is correct. And here's the dilemma, who knows what's correct and what is true? We've always done it this way is a weak argument. Here is some history of truth. Lens and Hippo agree to the following. Pleasure is when it still tastes good. Communication is important, but a firm decision brings results. If you can't find a solution to your problem, you're probably not looking low enough. There is always a simple solution to complex problems. Understanding that is as easy or as difficult as the spoken word itself. Misunderstandings are already built into our linguistic understanding. Language is a vehicle, and an unreliable resource. In ancient Bible texts that have been handed down about the Tower of Babel, we read that confusion about the final construction arose, due to a variety of expert opinions and misunderstanding. Further work on the tower was forced to end because the language confusion that had arisen, made it impossible for the people to finish the work on the tower. Lentz says he believes that the problem is not so much the spoken language but the stubbornness of trying to understand the principles itself. And Hippo the doctor thinks it's because of knowledge gaps, and in the end, the lack of willingness to learn, and the lack of willingness to understand each other. That brings the tower building to a standstill. Even today, many people remain in their preconceived notions, form chronic opposition and hail their own thoughts as religion. Clear language often doesn't stand a chance in this carnage. There are many languages in this world, they are all functional in common means of communication. However, real understanding requires brains. In the kitchen we have our own language, kitchen. It is based on acronyms, characters, and body language. There are no long sentences, just a short word here and there. The language of cuisine is precise, direct and simple. It is not really speaking, it is understanding and acting combined. Instantly. You can open a newspaper, listen to the news, or follow a two-day UN convention. Since kitchen is not spoken, therefore immediate action is very rare and hesitant. We hear many words, think many words, write long sentences and see many colorful pictures. What is often missing is the action. Kitchen language is different, it is always instant action. In the whole world there is only one language that understands this, and that is kitchen. In the kitchen, we chop the words, speak incomplete sentences, shout commands and quickly make clear sharp points. The concept is, listen the first time, because I don't have time to repeat myself. Communication takes place without words, without opening the mouth. Our hands communicate, our gestures speak volumes, our eyes admonish, our bodies teach, our muscle memory and reflexes save our lives and those we work with. This is our language. The individual speaks just words, this is not an understood language. The language kitchen avoids thinking, kitchen is action, kitchen has no excuses and no detours. No exceptions. Kitchen is, you are there. And act immediately. Okay, unless you're a chef, kitchen is hard to understand. Here's a little help. You can speak English or German well, but to understand Goethe, Shakespeare, or Bukowski you have to train your listening skills and develop your thinking further. In the dim past, the law of the strongest prevailed, so the Neanderthal chief yells harshly, this way and no other. But he often didn't know why. But everyone did what he wanted anyway just out of fear. This has slowed down human development. Dictators and autocratic family and business leaders still use this practice today. Oh, I love the Neanderthals here as a negative example. The only thing the chief couldn't yell at was his chef and the medicine man. He needs them both and has to trust them, because he hadn't the faintest idea about medicine or cooking. So the chef Lentz and Hippo the doctor made the first scientific discoveries together. They were free to do experiments and conducting research. The Hippo collected herbs and tried to explore the effect through many test series. And Lentz focused on taste, color, and aroma. Hippo and Lentz were both driven by ambition and soon found out what, and how it all works. They kept asking and questioning each other. How this? And why that? And soon they realized the question why is given the answers to the way it is. And they were able to justify why it is only possible in this way and not otherwise. They didn't have to shout dictatorially, no. They soon had first well-founded insights, and soon also useful experience. Hippo learned the basics of body functions from Lentz the chef. Hippo spent time with Lentz to break down all the parts of slaughtered meat. He studied the structure of muscles, joints, and the position and function of the internal organs. Lentz cut up the meat to cook it. Hippo, on the other hand, did research and found out how the body works. He then translated this basic research in medicine and surgery to the human body. Thank you, chef. A few thousand years later, another Hippo transferred many experiences from animal dissection to the human body. He could recognize diseases and soon knew how to treat them. This Hippo is a direct ancestor of Hippocrates. And Hippocrates and Lentz came to the following conclusion: eating is more than taking in food, although even though we take in food. And Hippocrates quote, "Let your food be your medicine, and your medicine be your food." And even more than this realization. The friendship between Lentz and Hippo is linked by their common fondness for getting to the bottom of things. They understand the interplay between simply eating to satisfy hunger, and enjoying food in a stress-free environment with friends and family. A good luxurious meal, hastily wolfed down in stolen time, during a far too short lunch break, is funless and caused in an upset stomach. A simple meal shared with friends, in a relaxed manner, however, gives a sense of well-being and satisfaction. This is a fact and the secret of the Mediterranean diet. It is well known that the French, Italians and Greeks suffer less from the effects of obesity and cardiovascular disease than the rest of the world. They eat more butter, cream, olive oil, and they drink wine with their daily meals. Lentz says, now slowly with quick conclusions. Having olive oil and drinking wine alone won't work. The Mediterranean lifestyle is the secret: shared meals. Time to eat. In a friendly community. Cultural unity. And well-known favorite dishes. Prepared with love and care. That's it. Why is it so and not otherwise? And you know by now, all this is not available in the supermarket. The rest of the world believes what the self-proclaimed health experts in Women's Weekly say: butter and oil are unhealthy and alcohol is a common killer. And here we go. Before, during, and after every meal, we hear someone at the dinner table saying, too much sugar, too many artificial flavors and colors, too greasy, sprayed, hormone-treated and too many preservatives. This basic attitude becomes a conviction. And that alone makes you sick. The Mediterranean diet probably doesn't work either, if it is always mentioned that olive oil and wine are harmful. The daily spoken table prayer about the ill, causing side effects in our food makes us more ill than the fresh butter itself. Just saying, your mind is your business. The balanced Mediterranean diet is taken with olive oil and wine, and consumed with pleasure and harmony. Best with family and friends. It tastes delicious and is healthy. A positive attitude towards food, trust, and a healthy awareness of food is at least as important as the food itself. Sugar and fats have fallen into disrepute and in overdose, hardliners often refer to them as poison. Of course, too much is too much. Lentz, however, says everything in moderation and above all, taken with pleasure, that is the antidote to this poison. What's more, the positive behavior at the dining table, the colloquial language and the ambience are just as important as the taste and aroma of the food. Of course, people like to have discussions while eating, but harsh differences of opinion can affect the enjoyment. And Lentz adds that it's unhealthy to pick up arguments at the daily family dinner. It easily becomes a daily habit to serve up parenting, finances, and other perpetual problems with every meal. Nobody likes this, it often doesn't change anything. So all of this should be chewed up well before or after the meal. The healthy meal is supported by relaxation. And always ends with something sweet, motivation and cheering and refreshing and positive words. And yes, you can laugh. This is a healthy diet as a whole. Here I am. A chef, not a doctor, I have no scientific training, only my knowledge of observation and the resulting belief, speaks here. Not more and not less, that's the way it is, so and not otherwise. Now back in the kitchen. In the last 5 years, around 9,000 guests have dined in my kitchen. There was no menu to choose from, just one 4-course menu for everyone. No drink list, no beer, no soft drinks. Just wine and water. I cooked in front of the guests, with butter, cream, olive oil, and wine. However, there were always fresh vegetables, fruit, and salads on every plate. Also fish and a good portion of meat. All this is served with wine and friendliness in a relaxed atmosphere. This is my understanding of health food. At this point I can't help but mention that none of the 9,000 guests has ever complained. Nobody missed chips and other deep-fried food either. Over all this years I never used a deep fryer. Maybe I had an easy task winning the hearts of my guests. The friendly welcome and a glass of wine upon arrival, the table set in the kitchen, all dishes presented, explained, and prepared in front of the guests. And it must have tasted good too. That fits and has done the job for me. Pleasure is when it still tastes good. Sounds silly? Well, I will try to explain, using the following event. There was once a heart specialist among the guests, who had performed several hundred heart operations over the years. I served scallops with white wine butter. A self-proclaimed health apostle at the next table drew attention to the generous use of butter. Now the unexpected, I prepared myself for a buttered slap in the face on the liberal use of butter, but I was served just the opposite by the cardiologist. He said something like this: if you eat scallops with white wine butter 3 times a day and you complain about the butter every time, this is bad for your heart. And he immediately added, it is not so much the butter but your attitude is concerning, and resulting in lack of pleasure and enjoyment. And the doctor gleefully scraped with the last scallop the last drop of white wine butter from his plate. With the scallop still in his mouth and the butter on his tongue, he said loudly and butter clearly, I love butter, I always make my scrambled eggs with plenty of butter. This is how the heart doctor saved the white wine butter and my chef's soul, and he brought butter back into the enjoyment zone. I was visibly relieved. But too early. The health apostle launched a counter-attack, speaking of cholesterol and HDL and LDL. Another apostle joined in the chant with wisdom about omega-3 and saturated, and unsaturated fats. Suddenly everyone is a nutrition expert, with well-founded detailed knowledge. Now the heart doctor sucked the last drop of butter sauce off the plate with some bread and said only calmly, yes, the technical terms mentioned here are all very well known to me, but so are the connections to body and soul functions. The blood value and pressure is initially just a number, the connection makes the disease, and the individual case is always complex. He taps his forehead with his butterfinger, and says a lot of the reasons are up here in the head. Especially the enjoyment factor, and we have no instruments to measure that. And he went on to say, eating 10 grams of butter is better than 5 grams of deep frying fat, and the breakdown of fatty acids and glycerin, osmotic pressure, and the positive impact of lemon juice and wine in the cooking process. He is an expert and understands the connections, but we throw the same words on the dinner table and still can't really digest them. So why not follow the experts and say, I love the pleasure of eating, also with butter. I wanted to gratefully end the factual discussion up to that point, and draw attention to the main course. So I closed this little lesson with the word. Sickness probably begins in the mind. And pleasure is at home in a healthy heart. We all had to laugh.